Hello guys, Luke here and welcome to Dear Esther Landmark Edition. Now this is the Landmark Edition because this game actually came out back in 2012 and I call it a game. It's more of a interactive narrative, so to speak. It's in the genres such as like art game and like, as I said, like interactive narrative. So it's barely a game. It's a game in the sense that you still move a character around. It's first person view, but it's mostly just to experience a story, and that's what we're doing here today. Bit of a different video than what I usually upload, but I just felt like revisiting this game. I remember it fondly. It only lasts for about an hour or less, so this will be a longer video on the channel than I normally upload. Without further ado guys, we're going to get started, and I'm actually going to turn off the face cam for the rest of this video pretty much as well, because I feel like narrative based games, face cams feel a bit intrusive. They feel like they take you away from it. I want you to be as immersed as possible in the story of Dear Esther. So I'm going to turn off my face cam now, and I hope you enjoy Dear Esther. Here we go. Landmark Edition.
Dear Esther, the gulls do not land here anymore. I've noticed that this year they seem to shun the place. Maybe it's the depletion of the fishing stock driving them away. Perhaps it's me. When he first landed here, Donnelly wrote that the herds were sickly and their shepherds the lowest of the miserable classes that populate these Hebridean islands. 300 years later, even they have departed.
Now, while there's no commentary guys, I just want to say, even though this game was made in 2012, it still has definitely a unique beauty to it. The way that the grass and weeds move in the wind. Of course, if we look at the sky and the water here, it's not the best water and sky I've seen. Definitely not, in the top 100 skyboxes or oceans I've seen in games, but I don't know, it has a sort of arty feel to it, so yeah, almost like a watercolor feel. Anyway, moving on. Oh, that's a dirty shitter. Okay, not going near that. It's been so long since I've played this, I don't quite remember what I'm meant to be doing. Oh. So I can zoom in with left click. Yeah, the only controls for this game is left click to zoom in, and just WSA and D for movement, that's it. That's the whole game controls. What am I looking at here? So, from what I remember, this is a story of loss. Other than that, I don't really remember much more than that, so I'm just going to take a little stroll near the water and rocks here. I don't think I'm meant to actually go this way, so I'm going to turn around and stroll back up here. I think I'm meant to go up the hill. So, on YouTube right now, there are plenty of videos based on Dear Esther. A lot of them have no commentary. I decided I would do commentary, just my little 2 cents worth here and there. Of course, if you guys don't enjoy it, just you can watch. There's plenty of videos with no commentary if you want to watch this without. But I'm putting a little bit of my side into it here, my thoughts. I'll probably remember bits and pieces as I go because I forget a lot of it. Even though the ground isn't that high quality, it still has a realistic feel to it. Just so serene. Wait, go. Oh. Wait, is this a dead end? No, it's not. Oh, okay. I didn't know we could even walk there.
Donnelly reported the legend of the hermit, a holy man who sought solitude in its most pure form. Allegedly, he rode here from the mainland in a boat without a bottom, so all the creatures of the sea could rise at night to converse with him. How disappointed he must have been with their chatter. Perhaps now, when all that haunts the ocean is the rubbish dumped from the tankers, he'd find more peace. They say he threw his arms wide in a valley on the south side and the cliff opened up to provide him shelter. They say he died of fever 116 years later. The shepherds left gifts for him at the mouth of the cave, but Donnelly records they never claimed to have seen him. I have visited the cave and I have left my gifts, but like them, I appear to be an unworthy subject of his solitude.
Whoops. Turns out, guys, I was meant to go along the beach. Because it seems like there's a way up from the end here. My bad. But at least we got to the cave part. I wouldn't have got to the cave if I went this way the first time.
At night, you can see the lights sometimes from a passing tanker or trawler. From up on the cliffs, they are mundane. But down here, they fugue into ambiguity. For instance, I cannot readily tell if they belong above or below the waves. The distinction now seems banal. Why not everything and all at once? There's nothing better to do here than indulge in contradictions whilst waiting for the fabric of life to unravel. The mount is clearly the focal point of this landscape. It almost appears so well placed as to be artificial. I find myself easily slipping into the delusional state of ascribing purpose, deliberate motive to everything here. Was this island formed during the moment of impact? When we were torn loose from our moorings and the seatbelts cut motorway lanes into our chests and shoulders, did it first break surface then? When someone had died or was dying, or was so ill they gave up what little hope they could sacrifice, they cut parallel lines into the cliff, exposing the white chalk beneath.
Oh.
You could see them from the mainland or the fishing boats, and know to send aid or impose a cordon of protection, and wait a generation until whatever pestilence stalked the cliff paths died along with its hosts. My lines are just for this. To keep any would-be rescuers at bay. The infection is not simply of the flesh.
Interesting.
I quote directly, "A motley lot with little to recommend them. I have now spent 3 days in their company. That is, I fear, enough for any man not born amongst them. Despite their tedious inclination to quote scripture, they seem to me the most God-forsaken of all the inhabitants of the Outer Isles. Indeed, in this case, the very gravity of that term, forsaken by God, seems to find its very apex. It appears to me that Donnelly, too, found those who wander this shoreline to be adrift from any chance of redemption. Did he include himself in that, I wonder?
Descending back down to the ocean now. I keep wanting to talk, but then I'm worried about being interrupted by
Dear Esther,
by the
I
narrator.
met Paul.
Lol.
I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another. Although he knew I hadn't come in search of an apology, reason or retribution, he still spiraled in panic, thrown high and lucid by his own dented bonnet. Responsibility had made him old. Like us, he'd already passed beyond any conceivable boundary of life.
I stopped here for a second because I'm admiring the water now. But because I looked at the sea at the start of the game, I didn't think much of it, but now that it runs into a little stream, it looks beautiful. The water actually does look good, but not overall in the ocean. It doesn't look that great over there, but I was just admiring the stream. Cave.
I threw my arms wide and the cliff opened out before me, making this rough home. I transferred my belongings from the bothy on the mount and tried to live here instead. It was cold at night and the sea lapped at the entrance at high tide. To climb the peak, I must first venture even deeper into the veins of the island, where the signals are blocked altogether. Only then will I understand them, when I stand on the summit and they flow into me, uncorrupted.
Is there no other way? Okay. Wait, this is a dead end? Oh, I thought I was meant to come this way. I guess it's good getting to these dead ends, otherwise I'd miss parts of the commentary. The lighthouse over there. So we've come down that descent over there. There's a new path here. I guess we follow this up. Is there a path over there? Nah, not really. Keep going this way. See, I'm trying to keep commentary to a minimum, just because I never know when this commentator's gonna start narrating again. I'll just try and keep quiet for most of the time. I'm just simply enjoying the peacefulness of it, the music. Beautiful. The stream.
The vegetation here has fossilized from the roots up. To think they once grazed animals here, the remnants of occupation being evidence to that. It is all sick to death. The water is too polluted for the fish.
Oh.
The sky is too thin for the birds, and the soil is cut with the bones of hermits and shepherds. I've heard it said that human ashes make great fertilizer, that we could sow a forest from all that is left of your hips and ribcage, with enough left over to thicken the air and repopulate the bay.
This is deep stuff. I'm now remembering what a sad story this is. I can't say much more than that without spoiling it. It's a Bible and Units 10 chemistry? Why is there a chemistry book here? Guess we'll carry on. Zoom. It's a weird mechanic to zoom in like that. Don't know what I would need to zoom in on. I'll be sheltered from the wind now. Unless the wind just travels through here. Yeah, it seems like the wind's still travelling. Oh, this is a one-way trip here. Oh.
Dear Esther, I have now driven the stretch of the M5 between Exeter and Bristol over 21 times. But although I have all the reports and all the witnesses, and have cross-referenced them within a millimetre using my ordnance survey maps, I simply cannot find the location. You'd think there would be marks to serve as some evidence. It's somewhere between the turnoff for Sanford and the welcome break services. But although I can always see it in my rearview mirror, I have as yet been unable to pull ashore.
Light blinking over there. Wasn't sure if I was meant to go down first. Actually, I think this path leads down anyway.
I've begun to wonder if Donnelly's voyage here was as prosaic as it was presented. How disappointed not to have found the bones of the holy man. No wonder he hated the inhabitants so. To him they must have seemed like barnacles mindlessly clinging to a mercy seat. Why cling so hard to the rock? Because it is the only thing that stops us from sliding into the ocean, into oblivion.
It's windy again. Chair.
I had kidney stones and you visited me in the hospital. After the operation, when I was still half submerged in anesthetic, your outline and your speech both blurred. Now my stones have grown into an island and made their escape, and you have been rendered opaque by the car of a drunk.
I might get lost here. There's too many branching paths. There's one down there. Seems like it links up with this path though, so it's all good. Oh, the wind's picking up again. Must be cold.
I've begun my ascent on the green slope of the western side. I've looked deep into the mountain from the shaft and understood that I must go up and then find the way under.
Oh.
I will stash the last vestiges of my civilization in the stone walls and work deeper from there. I'm drawn by the aerial and the cliff edge. There is some form of rebirth waiting for me there. The bothy was constructed originally in the early 1700s. By then, shepherding had formalized into a career. The first habitual shepherd was a man called Jakobsen, from a lineage of migratory Scandinavians. He was not considered a man of breeding by the mainlanders. He came here every summer whilst building the bothy, hoping eventually that becoming a man of property would secure him a wife and a lineage. Donnelly records that it did not work. He caught some disease from his malcontented goats and died 2 years after completing it. was no one to carve white lines into the cliff for him either. Inventory. A trestle table we spread wallpaper on in our first home. A folding chair. I laughed at you for bringing camping in the lakes. I was uncomfortable later and you laughed then. This diary, the bed with the broken springs. Once asleep you have to remember not to dream. A change of clothes, Donnelly's book, stolen from Edinburgh Library on the way here. I will burn them all on the last morning and make an aerial of my own.
Oh. You'll be burning away your memories, mate. Pretty high now. I'm still pretty sure we end up at the lighthouse, so I think that's towards that radio tower. So I guess we keep moving up. It looks like we have to go down first before we go up. And then the cave over there. Thought I was meant to be making my way up. Wait. Is there a path into that cave? No, there's not. Okay, maybe I am meant to go down.
Jakobsen's ribcage, they told Donnelly, was deformed. The result of some birth defect, or perhaps a traumatic injury as a child. Brittle and overblown it was, and desperately light. Perhaps it was this that finally did for him, unable to contain the shattering of his heart. In half-light, his skeleton a discarded prop, a false and calcified seabird.
It's an interesting way of putting it. Back at the water's edge.
They found Jakobsen in early spring. The thaw had only just come. Even though he'd been dead nearly 7 months, his body had been frozen right down to the nerves and had not even begun to decompose. He'd struggled halfway down the cliff path, perhaps looking for some lost goat, or perhaps in a delirium, and expired, curled into a claw right under the winter moon. Even the animals shunned his corpse. The mainlanders thought to bring it home unlucky. Donnelly claims they dragged it to the caves to thaw out and rot, but he is proving an unreliable witness. Climbing down to the caves, I slipped and fell and have injured my leg. I think the femur is broken.
Oh.
It is clearly infected. The skin has turned a bright, tight pink, and the pain is crashing in on waves, winter tides against my shoreline, drowning out the ache of my stones. I struggled back to the bothy to rest, but it has become clear that there is only one way this is likely to end. The medical supplies I looted from the trawler have suddenly found their purpose. They will keep me lucid for my final ascent.
Wow. I remember this place. I can't believe I played this game 7 years ago. Oh. Whoa, that I don't remember that bit. I remember the cave. Oh, so that's... Okay, he was describing that he slid down and fell.
Did Jakobsen crawl this far? Can I identify the scratches his nails ruined into the rocks? Am I following him, cell for cell, inch for inch? Why did he turn back on himself and not carry through to the ascent?
Whoa. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure this is more beautiful than I remember, than it was before. This is a redone version of the game, but I don't think they retouched much. I think this is just, yeah, all original from 2012. Astounding. Wow. They've really done a good job of the lighting.
They'd stop the traffic back as far as the Sandford Junction and come up the hard shoulder like radio signals from another star. It took 21 minutes for them to arrive. I watched Paul time it to the second on his watch.
Some more diagrams. I can't make much sense of them, unfortunately. Which way? This way? Whoa. I know this is a sad story, but I just marvel at the visuals. Wow. Oh, I'm meant to go in? Huh. Wow. 7 years later, and I'm still impressed by the visuals. Here's the cave I was observing from before. One last look at this place before we go. Wow. That's all I can say is wow. Wow, that's fast movement for someone who was crouching. Why am I so fast all of a sudden?
In my final dream, I sat at peace with Jakobsen and watched the moon over the Sandford Junction. Goats grazed on the hard shoulder, a world gone to weed and redemption. He showed me his fever scars, and I mine. between each shoulder the nascency of flight.
Well. What am I even looking at here? What are these? They look very low quality. Are they meant to? Which way do I go?
When I was coming round from the operation, I remember the light they shone in my eyes to check for pupil contraction. It was like staring up at a moonlit sky from the bottom of a well. People moved at the summit, but I could not tell if you were one of them.
There was a lot of drawing in here. Did he perhaps go a bit insane? Whoa, why am I was thinking for a second there. Strange. Looking in water now. Oh, swimming. Oh, we've actually got to dive down. Whoa. Okay. God, it must be cold. Yes, more waterfalls, please. They look beautiful. Oh! Oh. I was meant to go down? Okay, I was. Thank God. I didn't mean to slip. Huh? Coins? A metaphor for something I'm not understanding? All I can think of is like people throwing coins for good luck in the bottom of a fountain. It seems I can breathe for quite a while down here. Can I? Oh, okay, yep. Oh, okay. Wait, how did... Was there even a cave? Where did I come from? There's not even a cave here. Oh, I dropped down, that's right. I dropped down from up there. I think somehow my character's walking even slower than before, if that was even possible. A way out, finally. Oh, watch my step. That's a one-way trip again, looks like. Oh, we're loading. Ooh. We're outside? No, we're not outside yet. Oh, we're about to be. Ah. Oh, there's two paths here.
I wish I could have known Donnelly in this place. We would have had so much to debate. Did he paint these stones or did I? Who left the pots in the hut by the jetty? Who formed the museum under the sea? Who fell silently to his death into the frozen waters? Who erected this godforsaken aerial in the first place? Did this whole island rise to the surface of my stomach, forcing the gulls to take flight?
I don't think I'm getting the metaphor still. Hold on. There's a person. I'm going to keep an eye on that cliff. So we have been following someone the whole time.
We shall begin to assemble our own version of the North Shore. We will scrawl in dead languages and electrical diagrams and hide them away for future theologians to muse and mumble over. We will send a letter to Esther Donnelly and demand her answer. We will mix the paint with ashes and tarmac and the glow from our infections. We will paint a moon over the Sanford Junction and blue lights falling like stars along the hard shoulder.
Lights, I guess.
There were chemical stains on the tarmac, the leak of air conditioning, brake fluid and petrol. He kept sniffing at his fingers as he sat by the roadside, waiting as if he couldn't quite understand or recognize their smell. He said he'd been travelling back from a sales conference in Exeter. He'd stopped for farewell drinks earlier, but had kept a careful eye on his intake. You could hear the sirens above the idling traffic.
I can't see a person on the cliff anymore, I just realised.
From here, I can see my armada. I collected all the letters I'd ever meant to send to you, if I'd have ever made it to the mainland, but had instead collected at the bottom of my rucksack, and I spread them out along the lost beach. Then I took each and every one, and I folded them into boats. I folded you into the creases, and then, as the sun was setting, I set the fleet to sail. Shattered into 21 pieces, I consigned you to the Atlantic, and I sat here until I'd watched all of you sink.
Except that not many of them sunk, in fact. I think I'm missing the point on the whole story. To me, it's almost like he's talking in code. All of a sudden, a light from heaven shone around him, and he fell to the ground. Wait, there's eggs? Okay, there's eggs here. Why is there eggs here? Makes no sense. I guess I go up now. Yep. So as you can see, it's definitely a unique experience. I played it mostly because I saw screenshots of the visuals and loved how it looked at the time. And once I played it, it actually is quite an emotional story. And I don't even get all of it. I'm actually feeling cold, even though I'm in a room, not on a mountain. It feels like I'm here. Such good audio.
I will drag my leg behind me. I will drag it like a crumpled hatchback, tires blown and sparking across the dimming lights of my vision. I'm running out of painkillers and am following the flicker of the moon home. When Paul keeled over dead on the road to Damascus, they restarted his heart with the jump leads from a crumpled hatchback. It took 21 attempts to convince it to wake up.
Yeah. Just a lone candle. There is a person still there. Huh. Is that where I must go? Can I even get there? There's a fence blocking my path. Yeah, and there's invisible wall here.
I've begun my voyage in a paper boat without a bottom. I will fly to the moon in it. I've been folded along a crease in time, a weakness in the sheet of life. Now you've settled on the opposite side of the paper to me. I can see your traces in the ink that soaks through the fiber, the pulped vegetation. When we become waterlogged and the cage disintegrates, we will intermingle. When this paper aeroplane leaves the cliff edge and carves parallel vapor trails in the dark, we will come together.
We will come together. And as he was proceeding on his journey, it's part of a message. Oh, there's more of it up there. Cool. And was come near ending. I can't read that word. Every sentence here starts with "and," so it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't flow. And he was...
If only Donnelly had experienced this, he would have realized he was his own shoreline, as am I. Just as I am becoming this island, so he became his syphilis, retreating into the burning synapses, the stones, the infection.
This one says, and he was 3 days without sight. Gee. So, the reason I'm walking so slow is because I've got a crippled leg, like the commentator described earlier before we fell into the cave.
Returning to my car afterwards, hands still shaking, and a head split open by the impact. Goodbye to tearful aunts and traumatized uncles. Goodbye to the phenomenal. Goodbye to the tangible. Goodbye Wolverhampton. Goodbye Sanford. Goodbye Cromer. Goodbye Damascus. This cliff path is slippery in the dew. It is hard to climb with such an infection. I must carve out the bad flesh and sling it from the aerial. I must become infused with the very air.
Jeez. So this one says, and it came to pass that as I made my journey Wait, it never finishes. Music's getting very loud again. Oh, can I get on these stairs, please? Thank you. As I made my journey, and let's see, it starts a new sentence. So I don't get it. There's a lot of writing. Chime from heaven, a great light round about me, and could not see.
Blind with panic, deaf with the roar of the caged traffic, heart stopped on the road to Damascus. Paul sat at the roadside, hunched up like a gull, like a bloody gull. As useless and as doomed as a syphilitic cartographer, a dying goat herd, an infected leg, a kidney stone, blocking the traffic bound for Sanford and Exeter. He was not drunk, Esther. He was not drunk at all. All his roads and his tunnels and his paths led inevitably to this moment of impact. This is not a recorded natural condition. He should not be sat there with his chemicals and his circuit diagrams. He should not be sat there at all.
Wow, what a view. I'm just going to admire this for a second. Oh, crazy wind. It's not even a sentence.
I am the Ariel. In my passing, I will send news to each and every star.
Oh, okay,
Dear
I have no
Esther,
control.
I have burnt my belongings, my books, this death certificate. Mine will be written all across this island. Who was Jakobsen? Who remembers him? Donnelly has written of him, but who was Donnelly? Who remembers him? I have painted, carved, hewn, scored into this space all that I could draw from him. There will be another to these shores to remember me. I will rise from the ocean like an island without bottom, come together like a stone, become an Ariel, a beacon that they will not forget you. We have always been drawn here. One day the gulls will return and nest in our bones and our history. I will look to my left and see Esther Donnelly flying beside me. I will look to my right and see Paul Jakobsen flying beside me. They will leave white lines carved into the air to reach the mainland, where help will be sent.
Don't do it.
come back.
What's happened to the game? Oh, there we go. So that was Dear Esther Landmark Edition. Landmark Edition really didn't change anything, so it's still the same. I think it just gave us the option of listening to commentary from the developer as we play the game, but I disabled that feature. So it was basically the original 2012 version of the game that we just played. It still holds up quite strong visually, and both like storytelling, audio is excellent. I really felt like I was there. Like I actually feel cold, like as if I was standing where the main character was standing. It's just such a good piece of art. It's barely a game. It's basically just a piece of art. And to think this was all started with like a small studio that was modding Half-Life 2, so making mods for Half-Life 2. So, so this is running on the Source engine. But they've done so much with it visually. Just looks amazing. But anyway, if you would like to see more games like Dear Esther on the channel, let me know. Hit like on the video. Leave a comment down below. I'll even take suggestions if you got any for me to play. I was thinking of playing another game from this developer. So the developer for this game is The Chinese Room, and I was thinking of playing Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, which is a 2017 release game from this studio. So they released Landmark Edition of Dear Esther the same year, but they made a new game, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, which is I've also played that game as well in 2017, so it's been 2 years roughly since I played that, and it actually is another very emotional story-based game. It's a lot longer than this one. This one I've now been recording for an hour, and that game is a lot longer, probably about 4 to 6 hours. I can't remember exactly. It was a while ago. So guys, that's going to do it for Dear Esther Landmark Edition. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, leave a like down below. Subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys around the channel. Alright, have a good one.